Hi, this is Roger, thanks for dropping by. This is my Everything in Bloom on the 8th regular monthly event, or in this case the shortest video I've ever made. I did say one day I'm going to come out here and there will be not a lot, and this is it. There is not a lot. If you think about it, I've got a hell of a lot of dendrobiums, and a large portion of those are spring, you know, late winter, early spring bloomers. They're virtually finished except one. Most of my Latorias last year went downhill. They're the mainstays often of, you know, Everything in Bloom videos, the Latorias, because the blooms tend to last heading up towards 3 months, sometimes even longer. So they're there, you know, all the time. Well, there's only one of those, and that's a relatively newly bought one. The others are in a total state of recovery or sitting there doing nothing in some cases. So, you know, even my Kaneko is taking a break. That had a flush. That's sort of taking a break now. I think I might be able to get one bloom. Yeah, so it's thin on the ground, but we'll have a look at what there is. It's also very dull today. I've got dull, drizzly weather. That sort of rain that you sort of think, oh, it doesn't matter, it's only drizzling, and then 10 minutes later you're soaking wet. Yeah. So I've got very little light out here, although it does look like it might be brightening up. I will do what I've got, we'll see what we've got, and it's not a lot this time round. But we've had videos with loads of stuff in. This is just a quiet spell. I think it'll be Cattley's turn next. There's quite a few buds in that arena. Right, so we'll start. Now I'm going to have to hold the camera right up above my head because I'm not getting the plant down, because it involves getting quite a few plants down. But I will get one out of the way. I'm going to start with the Vanda. It's actually an Ascocentra, which is a cross between an Ascocentum and a Vanda. But the Ascocentums were all reclassified as Vandas, so it's a Vanda crossed with a Vanda now, so it's a Vanda. But they do have a different look about them, those hybrids, intergenerics, because the blooms tend to be a bit smaller and quite tightly clustered. The Vandas don't tend to look like that. Their individual blooms have longer stems. But yeah, I like that one a lot. My daughter got it for me a few years back now. It blooms well, it's a reliable bloomer. So we've got that one, that's that one. This, oh, hang on, let's get my camera back on my wrist. Wobble, wobble, wobble. Right, this Latoria, which was a relatively recent purchase, is just about hanging in there. It's got a spike up here with a couple of blooms on. This one's going. Obviously on the same spike, the others won't be long behind. And then this one down here, this one's going. See, they go papery, but this is the last one we can have a good look at, I suspect. Beautiful shape to these blooms. They angle themselves nicely upwards. I suspect I'm going to get a lot of blurry stuff today. But they do have a unusual shape to them. Lovely purple in the and veining and spotting inside the lip, which is also an unusual shape. There's also green veining in there, as well as the purple. And the two wings, as I like to call them, are the purest white. So, lovely one there. Pop-ups with the names. Save me digging around. Right, there's nothing else up in this area. Nothing at all. And down here, I've got no Restrepias with any blooms on, not one. They're having a quiet spell. That was the heat that we had a while back, stopped them blooming. But the Dracula's gone, the Ignea's gone, but we do still have one Masdevallia with a bloom on. That's a hybrid, no ID. I'm going to have to get back a bit. I'm sorry, but there's going to be some blurry shots today, I'm sure there is. But yeah, I mean, to me that's an attractive Masdevallia. I love the colouring on it. I like the way the colours blend. So that's that one. Nothing in there at all. I wonder if we've still got anything on Hercoglossum. I don't think I have. I think they've all gone. Just scanning around the plant. Yep, those would have been the last ones, but they've gone over in the last day or two. So nothing on Hercoglossum now. That's for oh yes. So I've just seen something out the corner of my eye that I thought was Hercoglossum. It's not. It's a first-time bloomer. Ooh, we'll have that out. Now this one, because it's still got some blooms that are reasonable, I'm going to class that as still in bloom. Even though you can see most of it's gone, isn't it? Most of it's gone. But that's the Friedrichianum Hanna. It's done well this year. Good blooming. Got me a first in a national contest, a first in the my Orchid Society virtual table display, or whatever they call it now. So it's done well again. That's 2 consecutive years it's done well. And right, tucked in the back here, if I can get at it, I'm going to put the camera down and get it out so we can see it properly. I'll be back. Okay, Insa, we have blooms. I say we because this plant doesn't really belong to me anymore. But first time bloomer. Now these are tiny but incredibly attractive. Lovely, delicate, dusky pink. And that spot in the centre is the deepest purple that virtually looks black. So that's Dendrobium linguella, first time blooming, and unexpected as well. It's an incredibly old cane. And as that one's managed to do it, there's no reason why some of the others might. But yeah, first time bloomer, and I could imagine, you know, a plant with a lot of blooms out would be quite stunning. Looks a little thin, you know. I'll see how close I can get if it'll keep still. It'll probably go straight out of focus. As I say, I've got very little light in here. Anyway, that's what you've got. Let me just see if I can force a focus. I don't know whether that stayed in focus or not. There's a facility on the camera that I never use where you can tap the screen and it'll lock the focus at that point, even if the camera moves. So, okay, I'm going to have to get that out of the way now, so I'll put the camera down again. Okay, I'm still going to count the Epidendrum, but this is the blooms on this are really on their last legs now. They're finishing. And the way you can tell with an Epidendrum when it's coming to the end is that there's no buds in the centre at the top of the spike anymore. They've all finished, because it does extend, but because this plant's not in a very happy state at the moment, they didn't extend very much this year. So the last few blooms will be dropping on the floor very soon, but it's been in bloom some considerable time. So I'd still class it as a value for money one, on the grounds that you know, the blooms do last quite a long time, and it's a lovely splash of orange at the end of the day. I just need to get that plant back to some sort of health now, because it hasn't done very well in the past. Right, all across the top here, not a light. All down through here, not a light. Oh, but what I will say, this is for, oh, I can't think of the name, but the Queen Anne, Miltonia Queen Anne, that is probably 80–90% certain it's virused, has a spike coming. So the telltale last ditch attempt to determine whether it has a virus or not is coming soon. There is a spike. If those blooms are wrong and distorted with colour break like they were last time round, then I'm afraid it's going to have to go. But I've been holding on to it, watering it separate and all that sort of stuff. So we will find out soon. It's one I would replace if I ever got the chance again, but not from the place I got it last time. They had their chance. They bought 3 and all 3 of them were seriously infected with Fusarium, and now one of them's got a virus, which it probably has had all this time. Anyway, on to Tolumnias. This deep coloured one here, which I can see the camera is lightening it. This is a very, very dark coloured Tolumnia, this one. And it looks like it's not going to branch. The spike has got no signs of branching on it, but nonetheless it's been open a while, so they last well. So lovely colours on this one. It's a similar red all over, edged with white, and then you've got the splash of yellow in the middle. Most Tolumnias have got a splash of yellow in the middle, whatever colour they are, even the pink ones. So anyway, that's that one. And if anybody's got any, well, you can't do pictures on YouTube, can you? But if somebody has ever seen a white Tolumnia, I'd be interested in knowing. Actually white. Forget the yellow, it can still have the yellow bit in the middle, but petals and sepals white. Have you ever seen one? Because I haven't yet. And that's unusual. You'd at least think there'd be an alba form of a pale pink one. That would be white. Anyway, I've never seen one. And then my Europhila, the species Tolumnia, which has much smaller blooms. This is coming to a close now, but it's still fighting because it's still trying to push out branches on branches on branches, because I broke the main spike. So it's still branching, even though this is a branch on a branch, and it's still going to do it. But lovely, bright, clean yellow on this one, with just tinges of red. But I like this a lot. It has a lot of blooms, even though they're smaller. It always produces large numbers. First year that bloomed for me, I think it had 2 spikes the first year. It went to Malvern, and it got put round the side, almost at the back of the display, as though it just didn't matter. And it actually got a culture award. So it makes me wonder sometimes, the people who are selecting the plants for our main displays, what they're actually thinking of. But as far as the public would be concerned, they probably wouldn't be in the least bit interested in that. You know, the big and blousies, the big cattleyas, you know, the big phalaenopsis, that's what they go to see. And you know, the mass bloomings. Whereas something a bit more delicate, perhaps they're not so interested in. But nonetheless, the judges spotted it, even though they tried to hide it. And then down here we've got Shelob Tolkien. This is lurking down here at the moment because this is a set of newly mounted orchids that I want to keep shaded for a bit. These are attractive blooms. If you want to see a really good blooming of Shelob Tolkien, have a look at Insa's channel. I think he's got 4 spikes out at the moment with well over 20 blooms on the go. I think he's rather pleased. Because as spikes on Shelob Tolkien go, 4 blooms is not very good. 6 or 7 is about right, not 4. 4 means it's a poor spike. And I've had 6 or 7 on spikes before. But then, you know, the plant did go downhill at Malvern again, take them to a show and get, you know, mess them up for a year. But it will come back. So, you know, hopefully next time round we'll at least get 4, even though I've decimated the plant. Half of it got thrown away. A back bulb got taken off of this bit, and I'm left with 1 support bulb and the new growth that's actually blooming. And this time the first sign of those blooms, first bloom that shows any colour break, in other words, I'm starting to fade, the spike comes off. I need to get that growing again. So that's that area. That's nearly it. The Oncidium naeviem is just about hanging in there, although the blooms are going. You can see the wispy bits go brown and then they fall on the floor. But the spike up here opened a little bit after, so I've got a feeling there might be 1 or 2 blooms on here that are still okay, like that top one for instance. But you know, it's going to go soon, and then it can get growing again. I've got a feeling there's another growth in the middle of that plant somewhere that's maturing that may push up a spike in the not too distant future. Because when I first spotted the spike on here, it was hiding under a leaf. It was running along on the underside of a leaf, and I didn't see it till it was about 6 inches long. Anyway, so that'll be gone soon, but it's still there now. The Kaneko, come on, there must be 1 bloom on here I can film to count it as, yeah, there. We've still got 1 bloom, just. But it's on its way now. It's been in bloom a long time again, a succession, and I think it's coming to a close for a bit now. So we may have a bit of a break where there aren't any blooms for a while. But it does well for me, this one. It's almost always in bloom. And these are really pretty little blooms. Nice colour, lovely veining, and, you know, some reasonable sized clusters with, you know, 5 or 6 blooms on. And often several clusters on a cane at the same time. So yes, it'll be interesting to see where it decides to start thinking about blooming next. Most of these leafless canes have really probably almost come to the end now. They've been blooming for a couple of years. And we've got leaved canes that are starting to drop their leaves that look bigger and stronger to me. These are ones I've grown. So maybe they'll bloom better, but I don't know when they're going to start. How old do they have to be before they start? We shall see. And last but not least, because it really is last but not least, is our lovely little Cattleya. Long lasting. And that slug's been up here. There's a couple of little nicks. How do I know I've got a slug? That's how I know I've got a slug. And it obviously is tiny, and I can't find it. It could be anywhere. But this is the sort of place they'll get in, you know, where there's a gap in an air vent. That's one of the only ways they can get in, really, apart from hitching a ride on the cat, which they do. Fluffy cat, that is. A short-haired cat doesn't get the problem. So, but yeah, these blooms last a lovely long time, and they're a lovely colour. They open yellow, and then they fade to orange, leaving the lip a nice deep yellow, and it's a lovely deep yellow as well. So very attractive, long lasting, and the plant is changing its direction of growth. It came to here from here, so it came from here to this one, which is its largest pseudobulb. And this pseudobulb will produce a new growth, but whether it goes that way, back out that way, or straight out away from the thing remains to be seen. But we've got one starting here, so I'm reasonably certain that down the line we're going to have 2 leads. This one definitely, and there should be another one on here once these blooms go, once that spike comes off. Little bit of a rest and then a new growth. And with the new growths we should get some more roots. So this plant is growing on quite nicely. Seems to do okay. It can stay on that mount for some considerable time. It's cork, so it's unlikely to break down. And it's got room to move. So it'll stay there, which means it doesn't get disturbed, so it can grow on. So yeah, there we go. Even the hibiscus dropped its one and only bloom that it's had for ages. So there we go. Things to come. One of my little mounted Phalaenopsis has got a spike. That does have attractive little blooms, but nice ones. We got the Queen Anne on the possibly virus thing. Several Cattleya buds lurking that are pushing on. Not much else really. It's just that time of year. Things are growing more than blooming. The Dracula Bella has currently got about 6 or 7 spikes on it, but whether it's going to do its summer trick and just abort them all, I don't know. We might get 1 or 2 to bloom. It depends on the weather. You know, I mean, at the moment there's no heat. I mean, I'm 22 degrees in here today, 22.5 degrees. That's not warm. Not warm at all. And you know, the fogger hasn't been on. It's currently 76, 78% humidity. The fogger doesn't need to come on. I turned the fans off. They're on, but I turned them off to film. So yes, so a little thin on the ground, but nonetheless regular video. That's the 8th, and it's Wednesday today. Tomorrow will be a questions and answers session. I've got enough, so we will do that. That's a regular weekly one, providing I've got enough questions and answers. I can't do a questions and answers if I haven't got any. I suppose I could make some up, but I do add my own in sometimes. Anyway, so it'll be Q's and A's tomorrow. Got some nice ones, some interesting ones to do. And I've also got a few videos backed up. That massive repot session isn't over yet. There's another 2 videos to go. They're done. They're ready to post. But one of them's quite long. The other one's more like an introduction. And you can overload, quite honestly. If I start putting up, you know, more than 1 video a day, some people think 1 a day is a few too many, and I ought to have a rest every now and again. It gives people a chance to watch somebody else's videos, perhaps, you know, so I see the point. But you start posting 2 a day, people are going to start missing things out because they won't have the time. So I try not to do that unless they really are like a 3-minute announcement or something like that, you know. I mean, you can see the time before you watch a video. It tells you how long it is, so you can choose. Leave the longer ones for when you've got a drink and sat down comfy and all that sort of stuff. And yeah, thanks for dropping by, and I'll see you next time.